Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. I feel like for today's video I should offer up a bit of a warning that today's topic may be a little bit triggering for some people. I tend to espouse the philosophy that there's room for all of God's creatures right next to my mashed potatoes. I'm willing to eat just about anything. Um, and today's offering in the Market of Mystery is a dish that I've been wanting to try for a while. But I haven't really been able to travel to where this dish is indigenous. Um, and sourcing the actual protein for this dish has been problematic, at least doing so ethically. It's fairly commonplace where this critter comes from to raise it as actual livestock. It is kept for the family meal um, and is available in restaurants too in the area where it comes from. For the rest of the world, generally speaking, this is considered a pet, a member of the family, and I'm about to eat it. So, if that might offend your sensibilities or squick you out, I understand. I suggest you go and see one of my other videos. I totally understand. It could be a little disturbing for you, particularly if you've owned this particular critter. But for the rest of you, you have been warned. Here we go. I'm Mike Uyak. I love to try new things, and I've had culinary adventures all around the world as well as right at home. I've had really wonderful food, as well as some really horrible food. I'd like to share some of my adventures with you, and we'll see if I have what it takes to fix whatever goes wrong. This is Recipe Redemption. Still here. Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you. Today we're going to be making Cuy Chactado, which is a dish um, primarily from Peru, as I mentioned before, that features as the main and really the only important ingredient guinea pig. This one, obviously dead, has been already prepared for me. Um, Mostly. It's already been gutted. What they do, they break its neck, or in this case, might have slit its neck, slit its throat. In any case, um, dunk it into boiling water. And this is like what you do with a lot of animals, actually. Dunk it in boiling water for about a minute. Um, that basically cooks the skin just enough that the hair becomes really loose. Then they spend some time pulling the hair out and or shaving it. This one, they did a pretty good job. I may actually spend a little time pulling some more of the hairs out because they're not good eating. And then I'm going to prepare it via a more or less authentic recipe that I found on the interwebs. As I mentioned, the guinea pig is actually raised as livestock in the Andean regions of South America, Peru, Chile, Argentina. There are families that keep a few of them around in the house, and when it's time for dinner, one of them snap its neck, go through the above process, and often prepare it in exactly the way that I'm about to. Also, as I mentioned, as the domestic guinea pig um, is kind of it's kind of an oxymoron, or actually a kind of redundancy, I should say. The guinea pig, as we recognize it, does not exist in the wild. It is related to other cavies. Um, that existed. There's a rock cavy, and all the way up to the same. It's in the same family as the capybara. So this is like a very small capybara in a way. I would be willing to actually try a capybara at some point too, but that's beside the point. That's probably not going to happen on this channel. So, oh yes, and since some of you are probably going to ask, guinea pig. Why is it called a guinea pig? No one really knows. They are not from Guinea, not in Guinea-Bissau or Guinea or New Guinea. They are not pigs either. So no one is entirely sure why they're called guinea pigs, but that's what they're commonly known as around the world, so that's what we're going to continue to call them. So I'm going to get to preparing this little guy, and we'll talk some more later.
So the preparation for this dish couldn't be simpler. Here we have our guinea pig, and in order for it to cook quickly and evenly, I'm essentially going to spatchcock it. That is, it's already slit up the middle and all of its innards removed, so I'm just removing the sternum here and the rib cage to open them up and flatten them out as much as I can. And it's going to take a little bit since I've never done this before. I also noticed that some of the organs weren't removed. Because they left his rib cage intact, he still has lungs and heart. And I honestly don't know that those are good eating. So as soon as I remove the ribs, and I'm just snipping through them with my kitchen shears here, and some of the connective tissue. There's not a whole lot of meat on those ribs anyway, so they get to go away. But as I said, I don't know if the heart and lungs are good eating. I may be throwing away a perfectly good part of the guinea pig, I don't know. But I'm not taking any chances, so I'm getting rid of those. And as you may have noticed, I removed the head as well as I put the guinea pig in the pan to fry here. It's just, a 1/4 inch of oil in the bottom of the pan. And going to fry for a few minutes on each side. I removed the head just because it wasn't going to fit. And I kind of doubt that there's a whole lot of really good meat on a guinea pig's head anyway. Again, maybe I'm missing out on creamy guinea pig brains and I don't know it, but I'm kind of erring on the conservative side here. So, flipping and cooking probably about 10 minutes on each side, and then set aside to rest. Meantime, in another pan, I'm sauteing some chopped onions, adding a bit of minced garlic, and just sauteing until you get a little bit of color onto them. And now for the real flavor component of this, ají panca, which is a Peruvian roasted pepper paste. That's kind of like if you blended up chipotle peppers with their adobo sauce. It's kind of like that, a little bit lighter on the heat, but it's quite good, but it's an integral part of this recipe, so in it goes, probably about 3 tablespoons worth, along with some chicken broth. And yes, I used a paste because I'm lazy. And just simmer this for about 5 minutes until it thickens and becomes a nice sauce. One thing to note, the recipe that I have has you coating the guinea pig in cornmeal, has you serving this atop a bunch of potatoes. I didn't do any of that because I'm just making this for myself and I don't want this huge platter of food. So I'm just ladling the sauce onto my fried guinea pig, and you'll notice I have taken the liberty of cutting it into quarters to make it a little easier to eat, and just pouring it on top until it kind of looks like a real-life version of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Spare you the image of watching me eat that guinea pig. So a few tasting notes. The sauce is really the predominant flavor. Obviously, you smother it with this sauce. It's the ají panca that goes into it is the predominant flavor. It's strong. Uh, it's not too spicy. There's a little bit of heat, but not too spicy. There's a smokiness to it. If I were to characterize it based on something that is more familiar to an American palate, I'd say it's like a mild flavored chipotle with adobo. There's that smokiness, the sort of dried roasted chili flavor to it. A little bit lower in heat. One could argue a little sweeter. I actually didn't taste it on its own without the sauteed onion and everything, so that might have actually sweetened it a little bit from the sauteed onion. But generally speaking, it just has this sort of a nice, warm, earthy chili flavor to it. The Cuy itself, flavor's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's an issue that I have with a lot of small critters, quail, squab, rabbit. All those small critters, they tend to, because they're small, the sort of fiddly little bone to meat ratio it gets to be kind of high. So you're ending up picking out little tiny bits of meat, and if you think about it, each little muscle in this case is like 1.5 inches long and 1/4 of an inch thick. So a lot of it just like picking little bits of meat around these tiny little bones. I'm not the kind of person who really likes crunching through little bones and just eating them whole. Some people do that. They'll eat fish with the fish bones. They'll eat shrimp with the shells on. It's not my bag. I don't really like that. But the flavor itself, it is cliche to say that it tastes like chicken, but it kind of did. It tastes like chicken. It lives sort of the same sort of lifestyle when it's raised domestically. I mean, it's fed grain, and it ends up having that flavor. There's a certain, I hesitate to say gaminess to it, because it's not really gamey in the sense that like wild venison or boar or something is gamey, but it's sort of other. The way I characterize it, it tastes sort of aquatic in a way, in the same way that like frog legs taste kind of like chicken but kind of not. There's sort of this aquatic flavor to it. That's the only way I can really describe it, and then the guinea pig does have that same sort of flavor. Bottom line, can I recommend it? If you happen to be in Peru, Colombia, northern Brazil, that sort of west central South American, I just named all the directions, I think. Anyway, that sort of area, Andes Mountains area, and you have an opportunity to try cuy, sure, go ahead. They probably cook it better than I did. Actually, there's no probability about it. They cook it better than I did, so it'll probably taste better. You might have a more authentic experience, and it'll be something to write home about. Do I recommend that you cook this for yourself? I'd say no. The difficulty I had in sourcing this, the expense of actually buying and shipping this, the effort that it took to actually cook it, all combined, it's a lot for what you get. If you're in a culture where you have a guinea pig that you're not too emotionally attached to, you've raised it specifically for food, and you're not too squeamish about snapping the neck of a living thing and shaving it and cooking it. If you're not squeamish about that and you live in an area where that's legal, I suppose. But if you actually have to go and find this, like on the internet, and buy it, it's a lot for what you get. So I would save it for that trip to South America. I would recommend trying it just because how often do you get to try stuff like this? It took me about a year to get around to actually doing this video. Aside from, you know, screwing up my courage to actually do it and possibly offending some people. But aside from that, it took about a year to actually get the ingredients together and actually shoot the video. So it took some work, and it's something I can say I've done. Definitely wouldn't make a steady diet of it based on, you know, the aforementioned factors. If for whatever reason I decided that I was going to move to Cuzco, I might have it on occasion because it'll be served at the local restaurant and I'll be able to have it. But um, even then, I probably wouldn't raise them for myself for my own consumption because it's too much work for what you get personally. So with that, let me know what you think. I invite your comments. Let me know if there's anything, any other horrifying things that I can try on this channel. And as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you next time here on Recipe Redemption. Thank you for watching.